Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Truck driver hospitalized following Mandeville crash. A truck driver has been hospitalized following a two-vehicle crash on the Winston Jones Highway in Mandeville on Thursday night. The crash involved a tractor-trailer and a box truck. Preliminary reports suggest that the crash happened shortly after 8 p.m. It is unclear as to the cause of the accident. The impact caused the tractor-trailer to go partially off-road. Trees stopped the heavy unit from going over a precipice. The box truck was extensively damaged. Sources said the driver of the mantled box truck was taken to hospital, while the driver of the tractor-trailer escaped serious injuries. The crash has resulted in a periodic pileup of traffic on the usually busy roadway. St. James councillors raised concerns about police stop-and-search operations. Concerns about how police officers respond to motorists during stop-and-search operations were raised at the monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation. Counsel for the Somerton Division, Mark McGurn, highlighted videos which have been circulated showing interactions between police and motorists, noting issues raised into officers' responses. He said in instances, some police officers are not able to adequately explain the rationale for stopping motorists. The council called for especially young officers to be made aware of the regulations governing stop-and-search operations. Meantime, Operations Officer for St. James Police Superintendent Aaron Samuels says the constabulary is addressing the issue.
As it relates to the whole issue of the stop and search, we are looking at ensuring that the officers, when they are going out there, right across the force, are properly informed in terms of giving the reasons why persons are stopped and the authority. We are also looking at ensuring that the public is made aware, because there's a lot of things floating around in terms of these videos, and we don't want to just only inform the members, but we also want the public to be fully aware of their responsibility as well in dealing with the officers. We don't want going out there that there is this animosity and persons being resistive to these stops. So what we want is just a comfortable situation when these stops are had. So I know that the organization is working to have this done, so we'll have a formidable discussion on it in terms of a release to both the citizens, and then we'll brief our officers fully. They are being briefed, but we just want to ensure that they are fully comfortable in relaying what they need to.
St. Catherine South Police named 5 people of interest in relation to recent murders. The St. Catherine South Police have listed 5 men as persons of interest in relation to recent murders committed in the division. Acting Commanding Superintendent Hopton Nicholson notes that the men, who are from Hellshire Park addresses, are being sought for questioning in relation to murders committed on January 5th and 11. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of the men is asked to call the St. Catherine South Police Division at 876-949-8422 or Crime Stop at 311.
Detectives from the St. Catherine South Police are conducting investigations into 2 recent murders which occurred in the division on Thursday, January 5th, 2023 in the Nago Head Transportation Center, and another murder which occurred on Wednesday, January 11th, 2023 along Robin Way in the Hellshire Park community. We are seeking to speak to the following persons who we believe can assist us in these murder investigations: Jermaine Straw, also known as Predem of a Hellshire Park address; Mario Thomas, also known as Mario of a Hellshire Park address; a man known as Kirk and another man known as Gona Gona. These 2 are believed to be related, and they are both of Hellshire Park. A man known as Teddy of Hellshire Park address. We are asking these persons to report to the Portmore CIB by midday on Saturday, January 14, 2023.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his administration has significantly increased manpower in the security forces. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has hit back at comments calling for the government to increase law enforcement numbers by expanding the security forces. Opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting is among those who have called for more boots on the ground to tackle the country's crime problem. Mr. Bunting also attributed the decline in the murder rate to the Joint Police Military Initiative Operation Relentless 2 launched in September last year. He suggested that the decline in murders coincided with the operation, which ensured that there were more resources to tackle known criminal hotspots. It was against this background that he reiterated the need for more manpower in law enforcement. Speaking during a national security seminar, The Prime Minister maintained that the security forces have expanded significantly under his administration. Mr. Holness said it was through the expansion of the security forces that security coverage was provided for major shows and events held in the country. He also cited that the security forces' role in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic.
Now let's talk about recruitment, because whenever there are criticisms leveled at the government strategy, the alternative is to say, we need more police, we need more soldiers, we need more boots on the ground. There has never been more boots on the ground in law enforcement in Jamaica than there is today. Never. This administration has done it. When we took over the administration of this country, the JDF was about 4,000 strong. Today the JDF is close to 8, and the objective is to get it up to about 10. When we took over, the attrition rate exceeded the recruitment rate for the JCF. Today, that's not the case. This year alone, the JCF would have recruited over 1,350 new policemen, and they're moving steadily to fill their establishment. We were able, in Christmas, to provide security coverage for several major shows and events, incident-free, whilst keeping the security blanket for the country. During the pandemic, it was the JCF and the JDF that provided that core support for all the other functionalities that they don't get any credit for. But none of what was the pandemic response would have been possible, whether it was managing the vaccine sites, monitoring the curfews, whilst at the same time dealing with the national security issues. And we were able to do that because we have expanded the manpower of law enforcement.
OCA says steps must be taken to ensure children do not fall victim to abusers following Uncle Carl's situation. The Office of the Children's Advocate OCA says steps must be taken to ensure that children do not fall victim to abusers who enter the country as charity organizers or in any other capacity. The OCA's comment follows a probe into conduct into the partnership between the Child Protection and Family Services Agency CPFSA and Uncle Carl, the operator of Father's Home, a transitional facility for young girls. This after reports that Uncle Carl was stripped of his educational license following claims of inappropriate behavior involving a minor in the USA. The OCA probe uncovered troubling report of the interactions Uncle Carl had with the wards at the facility. Speaking on the Step-In Reason with host Mutabaruka on Thursday, Children's Advocate Diana Garden-Harrison noted that efforts must be made to prevent a repeat of this situation. Among the recommended steps to be taken is a rigorous vetting process for persons who interact with the vulnerable children. Noting that, to her knowledge, Uncle Carl is in the United States, Mrs. Garden-Harris said the victims must decide if they want to take the matter to the police.
There needs to be a very rigorous vetting process of anyone who comes forward as a prospective volunteer. Looking into the person's criminal history, doing a social inquiry, for example, to see the context of what they used to do before, and also having a very structured interview. What is it that you propose to do? How do you intend to execute it? And then also now, once they pass that threshold, look at managing the situation. So it's not that you're a volunteer and then you have full access. Anytime you come, it's like, oh, you're here, and everybody's running to say, oh, fantastic, Muta is here, let's give a hug and let's go on the art and craft. But it's about what are some of the systems now on the ground in the different facilities that will streamline and guide how volunteers interact with residents. So it has to be a whole rigorous look on the vetting process, and also sporadic checks even after someone has been cleared as a suitable volunteer. So you have some victims, for example, who, yes, I want to talk about it because I want justice. And you have some victims who feel so embarrassed and ashamed and guilty that they don't want to talk about it. And in fact, some of the girls have said this. They want to move on with life. They don't want to go back there. Some of them feel conflicted because he was very kind to them, and so they may not want to go that particular route. But if they choose to go that particular route, then now the police would have to put together a case file for evidence to be taken in court and for the competent tribunal to determine whether or not there is sufficient evidence there for any kind of criminal sanction.
Legislative changes to be made to indicate the death penalty will be applied in cases of capital murder. legislative changes are to be made to indicate clearly that the punishment for capital murder is the death penalty, and where this is not applied, then the sentence will be life imprisonment without parole. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says amendments to the Offences Against the Person Act will make it clear to criminals that they will not have the possibility of being released early. Mr. Holness says persons who commit non-capital murder will have to serve up to 45 years in prison before being eligible for parole.
I want to put the country on alert that we will amend the Offences Against the Person Act, specifically the penalty provision with respect to murder, to clarify and reinforce that the penalty for murder in Jamaica is for capital murder. It's a death penalty in some instances, and where that is not applied, it's life imprisonment. Somehow, somewhere, it got into the minds of criminals that after 15 years, sometimes good behavior, that you can come out of jail. Some of them really have that as in the back of their mind, that the penalty in Jamaica is not death or life imprisonment, that they can get a term of imprisonment and then get parole afterwards. We are going to disabuse them of that. And so we will make it clear in the amendment that the penalty for murder, for capital murder, is a death penalty, and where that is not applied, it is life imprisonment without parole. For non-capital murder, I heard a suggestion of 40 years before any consideration of parole. And I'm inclined to that. I think it's a wonderful suggestion. I think it should be up to 45 years. Because the principle and the perspective in the society, if you were to poll it now, is that the majority of Jamaicans would want to see the death penalty implemented, hanging implemented for murder. I have my own perspectives on the death penalty. But you cannot question the principle that if someone takes life and is convicted of such, they should be separated from the society for a long time. Their useful life should be taken away as well. My style already sparked the public debate, and we'll hear everybody running out with their own perspectives, which is useful. We'll hear what the perspectives will be, but let it be clear to the criminals that we will close all the loopholes that currently exist legislatively. And if you use fatal violence and you take a life, there will be significant consequences to your life.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification